Okay. The next we are going to discuss about job initialization. So once I talk about job initialization, I'm going to initialize a job with a method called submit job. Once I say submit the job, then it will be placed in a queue. So thereby initialization will be made. And here, and let me tell you one thing. We have one method called set number reduce tasks. So using this method, you can set the number of reducers that you want to have in your application or in your project. And here, the two most important things are one is job setup task, and second one is job cleanup task. One is setup task, and second one is cleanup task. And third important thing is output committer. Okay, now let's discuss about this. So this job initialization starts by once we submit a job, once a job ID is assigned. So then the job initialization will be starting. So when an object is created to represent the job being run, which consists of a task ID and task information and the task status. I will tell you like how can you get the task status updates from the system. So that will be in the last before phase. And once it is done, then I will be getting this task ID and job tracker. And job tracker will create two things. One is setup task and second one is cleanup task. Setup task is the one where you set the output directly, that is what we call as path, and the current temporary working space for the task. And cleanup task which removes or deletes the temporary working space. And this job tracker will assign the task for each task trackers. See, a set of task trackers will be coming under a job. For example, job one. Job one may consist of 10 tasks. Okay, like job one is composed of tasks. So where job one can be decomposed into multiple number of tasks, and all the tasks can be further composed into what is formed. It is called as job tracker. And this is the most important part, task assignment. So yeah, as I told you in the previous slide, that regarding heartbeat we'll be discussing about in task assignment. Okay, so in task assignment, the most important thing is task tracker. I mean, task tracker is a sub of job tracker. Okay, and here this task tracker assigns heartbeat periodically. It means like as a human being, our heartbeat tells that whether we are alive or not. Similarly, to know whether the node is alive or not, whether the task is alive or not, it sends a kind of information that is called heartbeat. Okay, so heartbeat tells the job tracker that a task tracker is alive or dead or ready to get a new task. That is what the meaning of heartbeat. And this job tracker will create a new task to the ready task tracker. Then further, this task tracker task assignment will be doing few things. One, the job tracker will choose a job from based on a priority or based on a certain algorithm or based on a certain priority thing. So once one job is completed, then the next one set is then the next one. And here in the last session, we talked about two things. One is local, and second one is mini cluster, right? So similarly, like how we can trace the task, we can trace the job. And if you see here, like task trackers has a fixed number of slots for map task and reduce task. And to fix the number of slots required for reducer and mapper, We have those methods like a set number reducer, set number mapper. So where you can choose a reduce task and further you can process it. So it is how the task assignment works in a map reduce. And the next one, task execution. So once I call execution where it is the one where the assigned job will be starting its execution. So whatever the task tracker has been assigned, whatever the task that you assigned to a task tracker, there the task execution will initiate. So initially I need to copy my jar files from HDFS and to my local disk. See, in this case, I can tell you one small example. When you start executing a program in Eclipse, if you're practicing a program in Eclipse, that is where you're trying to execute a Java program like J2EE based, and you can get the supporting libraries for that particular program, and where you can import all the softwares or it may be drivers. So those you can import with the help of jar files, and those jar files can be imported into your Eclipse. So thereby where you can see your program get executes. It is something similar to that. Okay. So then you can create a local working directory. Then you can create a then it creates a task render. Once first I need to set a path as a local working directory. Next, I need to create a job tracker. Then further task tracker, and each task may reside on the same Java virtual machine, which is created or which is assigned by the task runner. And task runner will be doing two things. One is setup task. Second, cleanup task. Okay, and the task execution has two more things. That is streaming and pipes. And regarding this streaming and pipes, we have discussed. We had a small discussion in module three, like what is called Hadoop streaming, what is called Hadoop pipes. See, streaming the task. The streaming task communicates with the process using standard input output streams. And if you take about pipes, it is something as like interconnectivity interface. Pipes, it listens to a socket. I will tell you what is called socket. It listens to a socket and provides you the port number for communication. See, uh, this socket and the other term is protocol. So socket we use in network. Socket and protocol we use in network, where socket is used to create a end-to endpoint connection between a client and a server, and how they are going to communicate, who is going to initiate, what and what way it is going to get done, what is the sequence to be get followed. All these things will be provided by the protocol. And here this pipes will be assisting in like a listens to a socket. Once it listens to socket, it is going to get the port number. For example, if you are executing some set of applications on your computer or on your laptop, you can see the port number is the number which is being assigned to each individual application. For example, if you're executing some program related to Apache as Apache server, you can see the port number will be always 8080. Like, so once if you are like to do this, you'll be opening like HTTP a client, you'll be giving port number 8080, which is being fixed for this particular purpose, like Apache server. And if you're trying this for some other applications where you can assign a port number for that particular task. I think this port number and these things you should have been knowing. Should have been knowing with the computer network subjects. And and just I just want to remind one more thing. Like even if it is like a stream, pipe, task execution, in all the things you are going to process the things with uh, the things with key value pairs. That is not going to change. So it is the diagram which we have seen in the anatomy of MapReduce, but here you can see a slight different version where you can get the status of your current job, either it is alive or not. So MapReduce program provides like pass the request like get status, then get job status from job tracker, then it is passing it to the task tracker node from where you are going to get the response, from where you are going to get the update. Like so, MapReduce can process the long running batch jobs, and this execution can take even from minutes to hours. And this job as a status, where you can get the status of each and every job. I mean, it is complete. It is completed. Like either it is running, or it is completed, or it is failed. You can trace the process progress of maps and reduces in your system using this process updater, and this statuses can be get changed, and how we are going to update those things back to the client. That is one challenging part of this map reduce jobs. For example, let me take this example. Right, we have discussed one example called shuffle and chart in short in module 3. So I said that we will be discussing in detail about shuffle and sort in module 4. That will be the next topic. And here in this, let me take the same example like a shuffle and sort, or even like counting the frequency of words in a given file. So based on the number of phases that is required in your project, that is the number of tasks required in your project. For example, if you see the task as the reducer on off of its input, then the task progresses 5 by 6. And where it has completed the copy and sort phases, I mean 1 by 3 each, and throughout the reduce phase 1 by 6. Like let me take a small simple example, word count frequency. So counting a word count frequency in a program. So here the major thing is like the entire time will be spent for mapper, splitter, combiner, reducer. So here the majority risk is this uh, the process of which requires like mapper and reducer will be little bit literally equal. But once when you talk about the in between the phases of these two steps, these phases, so it is doing just like half part of that, is doing the last part of that. So how many number of phases that you are considering? Like if you treat 5 to 6 phases, or some MapReduce applications requires an additional phase called intermediate, whereas some MapReduce application does not require that intermediate step. Once if you're done with splitter mapper, you can go for combiner or reducer. So thereby you can get to know in which task or in which phase you are spending much time on it, and where where your application or the job is not going to spend much time on it. Okay, so let me say this like, so once the client submits a job, the map reduce can take much more time if it is a bad job, else it is going to return the things in a faster manner. One is reading an input record in a mapper or reducer. Second, once I have done, I'm going to write it. And third, I need to state the status description using this method called set status method. And then I can increment a counter. Okay, let me recall one more thing here. So once if your job submission is made successful, once it is done, as a result, once if a job is getting done execute, then as a result you can see the counter will be displayed. If it is, I mean, if the job submission is not successful, then what happens is you will be getting a error. Error means what is the reason? What is the cause that your task has been get failed? And that will be recorded in your log. Okay, So that is what incrementing a counter. Next, calling reports progress. And we can see a small diagram next to this. Job completion. So the final status of a job is how far it is done. Either it is completed or it is currently in execution or it is not yet completed. So when the job tracker receives a report that the last task for a job is complete, then the status is made to be successful. Else, if the status is wait for completion, it needs to wait until the task is completed. And for this, will be using a method called submit, right? And the job statistics and the counter information will be printed to the client console, which will be there logged into console. And finally, the job tracker and the task tracker will clean up the action for job. So we have two things, right? One is setup task and second one is clean up task. One is setup task and second one is clean up task. Okay. So these are different stages or different phases uh, in MapReduce workflow. So it is a workflow of MapReduce. And now let's have a discussion on MapReduce life cycle. Okay. And here too you can see the phases: map phase, reduce phase. The major important phases are one is map phase and the second one is reduce phase. Okay, this is map phase, this is reduce phase. And let me start from this. So initially I have the client program. I am submitting my client program with the help of submit. I'm going to do with this submit method. So it is a single method whereby you can submit your job to your map reduce. That will be given for job tracker, right? So let me take this is a DFS distributed file system. So this is the input file. So once the input file is done, then the splitting starts. So splitting starts is like it is split 1, split 2, split 3. So split 1, you can see this is mapper 1, and for split 2, mapper 2, and for split 3, mapper 3. Similarly, you can have a number of mappers and a number of split. So how I'm going to map this? So what the input file and map, so that will be there in RAM, and then it is going to partition and combine. So it is where the task tracker, it is the role of job tracker. So task tracker is the one which is happening in between this map phase. Let me make it little bit clear. So initially when I submit into my problem, first I will be starting with a split phase. Then once split is done, I will be doing with map phase, and then I will be getting into the next phase called reduce combine. The problem is if I get multiple number of mappers to be done within a map one. For example, my mapper has M1, M2, M3. So I need to do the task. I need to do the job in M1, M2, M3. That is where task tracker works. Okay, and that is where the task tracker works. And that's what I told you. Task tracker is the one which performs or which does the task which is to be carried out inside a particular job. Once this is done, then it is going to be passed for reducer phase. Task tracker. Let's see task tracker what it is doing. Once after sort, it is going to combine the reduce method. I mean, again, you will be getting the things in a key value pair. So which always comes in a key value pair. Whenever we talk about this map reduce examples, we always treat with respect to key value pairs. Okay, so it is going to provide you the result in the proper format, then the output will be displayed in this file too. So it is a simple like sort and shuffle. Or if you take finding the frequency of word counts in a program, at the end you will be getting the word and its result. I mean the output format will be like let me take a word called bird. So it is going to be my key, and the value will be like approximately 57,326 times it is being repeated. And here this is called as key, and this is called as value. So this is how the map reduce works. Okay. So to understand this, it is little bit complex. But once when you start learning about this by time, when you start learning this from time to time, it will make you to understand about what does that map reduce workflow and how it works. Those things will be get little bit easy once when you start learning this topics. And limitations with map reduce. So this is limitations of classical map reduce places the need or associate for map reduce to, that is map reduce with yarn. The one thing with the classical map reduce is this classical map reduce can support only 4,000 set of nodes. When it is more than that, you can't scale up your application, or you can't use this classic map reduce into your application in solving a problem. It lacks in supporting the scalability. It's little bit expensive, and to do that, then Adobe MapReduce has been introduced in Adobe with the implementation along with Yarn. I mean MapReduce in Yarn. Okay, that is the one thing. Scalability. Second, resource utilization. As I told you, like number of tasks that which we are doing in map reduce, classical map reduce can support only like a 4,000 set of nodes tasks. But whereas if you have a little bit more complex problem, then that can't be get solved with classical map reduce, where you require an additional map reduce to this, that is the map reduce implementation in yarn. And here in this MapReduce framework, the job execution is controlled by two types of process. One is master, and second one is subordinate process. If you take Hadoop, HDFS, you have two things. One is name node, other one is the data node, like a master and a slave. So it is something like a job tracker and the task tracker. Okay. Job tracker will be the one which will be coordinating all the jobs of a task tracker, and task tracker will be the one which will be periodically reporting, updating things to the job tracker. It is something like let me take a name node, and the other one is data node. And here if you see this, it is master. Name node is a master, name node is a master, and the data node is a slave. Name node will be assigning the task to a data node, where the data node will be carrying out the task, and it will be reporting back to the name node. Okay, am I clear? So if I am giving an instruction to you, you will be doing the instruction, and once if you're done, you will be giving the result back to me. It is something like that. So job tracker will be the one that is a master process, and which is going to control or coordinate the jobs running on task tracker. Task tracker will be implementing it, and it will be providing those results back to master process job tracker. Okay, so these are the limitations of MapReduce. The main major limitation is one is scalability, and second resource utilization, and third workload balancing, support of workloads. And to overcome these things, the next higher version MapReduce is released, that is called MapReduce 2, and the other name for it is MapReduce with Yarn. Okay, So the next session we will be talking about this map reduce one. So as of today's session, we are talking about map reduce one. The next session we'll be talking about map reduce two. So today's session we have learned map reduce one. So what is the workflow in map reduce one? How it starts and where it ends, like starting from job submission, job initialization, task assignment, task execution, process status update, at last task execution, and then MapReduce life cycle, and at last the limitations with current classical MapReduce. Okay, thank you.